Well, BYU found a way to beat Kyle Whittingham yet again here in transfer portal season. The Cougs are on fire right now, and we have two big announcements to talk about. Welcome into Open for Business, where the Big 12 just means more. I am your host, John Kurtz. Thank you for being here. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Here's the deal. BYU fans, you've got a lot to be happy about these days. It has not been a perfect offseason for the Cougars. I will readily admit that. When Kyle Whittingham took the Michigan job, you knew this could spell trouble. Both BYU and Utah knew they might be in some trouble, but that has worked out much worse for the Utah Utes than it has for BYU. The question was, how much fallout would there be with the Cougars roster and coaching staff with Kyle Whittingham going to one of the biggest and most high-profile jobs in college football? How many staffers would BYU lose here to a BYU alum who had ties all over that staff? Would a slew of players follow? We're seeing this all over the place in the portal. Look at Iowa State. Lost its entire front line to Penn State when Matt Campbell decided to leave. Look at North Texas. Lost 14 players to Oklahoma State and counting. I guess it could be more by this point when they lost the head coach to Oklahoma State. So you knew something was likely to happen here. Kyle Whittingham did get Jay Hill. BYU defensive coordinator Jay Hill, who had done a phenomenal job over the last 2 years, he did go work for Kyle Whittingham at Michigan. Then BYU found out they were losing cornerbacks coach Genaro Guilford, a guy who had been there for a decade. Great cornerback play, great defensive back play at BYU the last couple of seasons when the defense really ascended and transcended that team into winning 23 games over the last 2 years. So don't get me wrong. It's not been perfect. Those are losses, but would Kyle Whittingham get the real prize? That's been one of the questions here. I would say the real prize here has been the star players, the guys that built, the players that built this BYU defense into what it is. Yes, Jay Hill is great. Might be a Power 4 head coach sooner rather than later. But these players form a team right now in Provo that looks poised to win double-digit games again next year. They certainly have all the makings of it if they can retain some very key pieces. More on that in just a moment, because, again, there are two big announcements that we've got to talk about here for BYU. Utah has been hit pretty hard, and this is where you would have said a week ago, 2 weeks ago, man, BYU's got to be really afraid about losing some of their best players, Satuala, Tanavasa. They got to be worried, especially if you would have known what was going to happen to Utah. Because right now, defensive end John Henry Daly, one of the most prolific sackers in the Big 12 and the country, he visited Michigan this week. We're starting to see the crystal balls pop up. The recruiting analysts are predicting that he is going to be a Michigan Wolverine. Smith Snowden, great corner, two-way player for Utah this year. He visited Michigan this week. Okay? He's going to make a decision between Michigan, BYU, Oregon, and Notre Dame. But he's another guy that could be a Wolverine. J.J. Buchanan, Utah tight end who was pretty productive this year. He is visiting Michigan this week. So Whittingham seems to have a lot of pull into that Utah roster, which obviously makes sense. But how much pull could Jay Hill and Kyle Whittingham have into the BYU roster? Can he stick it to the old alma mater one more time? Well, it hasn't worked very well so far. We know about Satuala, All-American safety. He is coming back to BYU. That was a guy who was rumored to be Michigan bound. We know that Keanu Tanavasa is staying. Guy who came from Utah, really good at BYU last year. If we're talking offense, Parker Kingston, for instance, had announced that he is staying. One of the last major hurdles, though, and this was big announcement number one that we need to get to. Big announcement number one of the last major hurdles on defense was trying to protect all Big 12 linebacker Isaiah Glasker. This is a guy who I think is All-American caliber, could be an All-American next season on a great BYU defense as they win double-digit games for a third straight year. Would he follow Jay Hill to Michigan like it seems like so many of these Utah players and all of their staffers did? Would Kyle Whittingham pull arguably BYU's best returning defender? The answer, my friends, is no. We got an announcement from Isaiah Glasker coming back to BYU, and this is huge news. There's more good news even beyond that I will get to in just a moment. Glasker, not even the highest profile player to announce in the last few days since I last talked to you. But Kyle Whittingham got stiff-armed by the BYU defense as a whole here. Yes, you got the defensive coordinator. You did not bust up the core of this team. And if you're watching everything that's going on in the transfer portal right now and understand how crazy and hard it is not something BYU is going to want to have to do, to venture into that world to replace guys like Glasker, like Tanavasa, like Satuala. Glasker's a huge retention man. 66 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 picks last year, won the Colorado game with an interception. Put him with Jack Kelly back there in that linebacking core. Dude was just a menace. Again, I think he has All-American potential. But I said the good news wasn't done yet, right? If you're at the basketball game last night, you may have seen this announcement come out first on social media, but I think a lot of BYU fans probably did just find out at the BYU Hoops game when Keanu Tanavasa stepped up and said, hey, I get asked all the time about Bear Bochmeier. What's he going to do? Well, Bear Bochmeier is coming back. He is coming back to BYU. That is a huge win. I don't know if Michigan would have been the specific worry there, but just in general, like, are you going to lose this guy? I mean, for a time, the rumor was Aaron Roderick, BYU's offensive coordinator, was going to go to Utah. And then you would have had to worry about Bear Bochmeier entering the portal as well. But Roderick didn't leave. Bear Bochmeier is coming back. And if you're going through this, look, man, Kyle Whittingham had a lot to pitch to this BYU roster here. I've got your coordinator. I'm at one of the top 5 to 10 brands in the sport, one of the top 5 to 10 jobs in the sport in the Power 2 conference. I am at a place that prides itself on defense and toughness and physicality. That's what you'd want as a defender. That's Michigan's identity. And I am a coach who prides myself on defense and toughness. That's my identity as a coach. I haven't missed a workout. What is it now? In like 15 years or something crazy like that. And yet, BYU held on to its stars. Yes, Kyle Whittingham won a battle, but I would say BYU in general won the war here. They survived. They hunkered down and survived. Now, there is one question left. And the one question left is Evan Johnson. That is a high-profile defender, very good corner. See the East Carolina game from last year if you want to know about Evan Johnson. Well, shoot, see the Pop-Tarts Bowl if you want to know about Evan Johnson. He played a key role, both positively and negatively, late in that game. Evan Johnson's position coach left, right? As I told you, the cornerbacks coach is now gone to Utah. Is he a fit at Michigan? Would he just want to leave without his position coach? That is one guy I know BYU fans are still waiting on an announcement for. Specifically, we shall see. But no matter what happens there, I think you've got to be thrilled if you're a BYU fan with how this has played out so far. Now, there's a lot more to break down. Kevin Papinga is the defensive coordinator now. BYU promotes from within, which I don't think is really all that surprising. We can break that down. The Bear Bochmeier piece, I mean, what does this mean for BYU's chances to repeat as Big 12 title game participants? Tune in to the live show tonight. I'm going to go live at about 6 o'clock tonight. So if you're watching this on Thursday as I record this, tune in for that. But if you want more right now on how big of a hit Utah could be taking in the transfer portal to its old head coach, Michigan, Kyle Whittingham, check out this video.